Welcome to Web Marketing That Works, episode 33. My name is Toby Jenkins, and on today's show, we have Keith Ferrazzi. Now, if you don't know Keith, he's the best-selling author of Never Eat Alone and Who's Got Your Back. He was also the youngest marketing manager in the Fortune 500 when he was appointed at Deloitte Consulting, and has spoken all over the world, including the United Nations and World Economic Forum, on the importance of relationships for growth. Now, I'm a huge believer that the relationships are the most important piece of the puzzle when it comes to your happiness, and Keith is of the same opinion, absolutely, that they are key to the success, whether business, personal, or in any other way. So Never Eat Alone was really an inspirational book for Adam and myself, and more than just a marketing and business book. As I said, it's really helped me with my personal relationships as well, and indeed even inspired many a dinner at home with friends and family. So I really hope you enjoy today's show with Keith, and I can't recommend his book, Never Eat Alone, enough. I really suggest that if you do like this interview, then you go out and grab it because it's an absolute cracker. Thanks very much and enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Web Marketing That Works podcast. Come behind the scenes of real-life marketing experiments and listen in as amazing guests confess the truth about what really works. Now, here are your hosts, Adam Franklin and Toby Jenkins.
So, Keith, I really, thanks so much for joining us today. I really enjoyed Never Eat Alone. It was a great marketing and business book, absolutely. And more importantly, I think, relationships are so central to the source of happiness in our lives that I took a whole lot personally from it as well. So thank you so much for writing the book.
Well, first of all, it brings me great joy when people read it and it's changed their lives. And that's why we went ahead and decided we needed it updated. Let me give you a little bit of background. The book was originally written because there is nothing more important in people's lives than the criticality of the relationships in their lives, not just for joy, but for ultimate success. If you want a new job, it's about relationships. If you want a raise, it's about relationships. In other words, it's about other people. And people will determine your future. People will determine your achievement, your success, your dreams. So we wanted to teach you how to build those relationships. Well, in the last 10 years, things have changed. The ways in which we interact with each other are more technology-enabled than ever before. And while the use of technology has changed, the basic rules are the same. And I wanted to make sure that people understood how to use these new technologies and still accelerate the strength of relationships and still get to the stage where they are understanding that you lead with generosity when building a relationship, understanding that relationships are best when they're high-performing, when they're hyper-candid, when the kind of accountability won't let each other fail. And yet that's still possible even in the day of Facebook.
I mean, that's a fairly, a lot of people sort of complain that Facebook has distanced us from, Facebook and other social networks have actually distanced us from the connections that we have in terms of people feeling as though it's mass-produced and all digital as opposed to in person.
That.
So
I understand that that's what people say, but I don't agree. I believe that we have allowed ourselves to hide behind tools. I was talking to the head of programming yesterday at LinkedIn, and I was asking who are some of the most well-followed and respected individuals on LinkedIn, and he mentioned one of my good friends, Beth Comstock, who is the former chief marketing officer. I think she might still hold that title, but she's also head of venture capital and innovation at General Electric. And I said, why do you think Beth is so followed and so respected on LinkedIn? And the answer was because she's so authentic. She talks about real life. She talks about her human frailty, her challenges, her struggles. And with that, people lean in. Now, that doesn't mean that, you need to wear your heart on your sleeve 100% of the time. But I can tell you that the same rules, and when I wrote Never Eat Alone originally, and I talked about the time when I was having dinner and all of a sudden with a large group of very successful executives, we started talking about broken relationships and how meaningful that evening was to all of us and how I deepened a set of relationships that will never, never, ever go away. In fact, it was funny because the one woman who I leaned into and talked about, literally just the other day, she and I connected, and it is still a deep connection. So, look, technology has been used as a foil, as a crutch, as an excuse. And it's our fault, and I'm trying to change that.
Yeah, I love that because, I mean, Adam and I have really, we've taken a lot of business lessons from your book, and to the extent that we built an aspirational contacts template that we included in our latest book, Web Marketing That Works. And that's been downloaded, stacks of times. Thank you, Keith. But based on your thinking, and we've used, that has just been such a great way to sort of get to know people and really interesting people doing interesting things, and then gradually, over time, that they have become friends, and it's been a fascinating process and such a great learning experience. How has that sort of mirrored up for you and your experience with Never Eat Alone?
Well, for sure. I mean, putting yourself out there and writing a book certainly elevates your brand so that people actually want to eat with you. But putting that aside,
I can imagine you wouldn't eat alone too often.
Not anymore. But what I can say, though, is that reaching out and being curious, whether you're writing a book, a blog, or you're just at a cocktail event asking good questions because you give a damn about the answers, is something that's rare and valued. Taking a point of view on something and sharing it with others is something that's appreciated in all conversation. The fact that I'm and you are in the business of cultivating, interviewing, and extracting and sharing points of view that are valuable to others, everybody needs to be in that, whether you're going to write a book or not.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, one of the favourite pieces of advice from your book was really the title to me, the importance of breaking bread to deepen relationships. Do you see that, this age of digital has kind of increased the importance of that process as well? Because you gave a lot of detail around, dinner party formats and that kind of stuff in the original Never Eat Alone. Has the importance increased?
Well, it's increased in that the absence of it makes it rarer and more cherished. So, our families don't eat together anymore. We're all doing 1,000 things because we think we should, because we can. And as a result, we spend less and less time sinking in and cultivating those rare moments of long, slow dinners. And it's something that is very, very important and very, very valuable. And I believe that this is something that is because it's so rare, the more you do it in this day and age, the better off you'll be.
I couldn't agree more. And my question then is, how do you take that concept and then embed it? Because often ideas break down without a system and a framework in place to execute, right? And so how do you take that idea and then make sure that, you do it in your own life to deepen those relationships? Because I think that is what our listeners really need to understand.
I put systems in place that make sure that this happens, and that's what we try to do and teach in Never Eat Alone is how do you create those systems. I have look aheads as I'm thinking about where I'm traveling into the future. My look aheads say, who will I eat with when I get there? And, and I don't just mean about dinners, but planning for relationships much more purposefully, identifying the most critical people to build relationships with. We talk about in the book called a relationship action plan. I mean, these are really critical elements. And, I feel like it's a lost art to be this purposeful, this process so oriented about relationships. But I tell you, it's not new. I mean, this is something that was talked about in the earliest stages of How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. We certainly have the leading book in our generation. But the way in which you go about doing it, because it's so important, is you've got to be planned and you've got to be purposeful.
Yeah, and so what are your systems then personally? How do you sort of get this into your life?
Yeah, so let me end with this, because I think this is probably the most important thing for everybody listening to understand. The key is relationship action planning. Relationship action planning recognizes that For all your goals and dreams, there are a set of people that will be critical. Write them down on a damn piece of paper or put them into a spreadsheet or your Salesforce.com or whatever it is. Write them down. And the more clear you are on who you need to build relationships with, the better. The next thing I do is I prioritize those, because you can't spend the same amount of time with your C's level priorities as you can with your A's. And if people are getting squeamish about this level of purposefulness, we do it all the time, but we do it badly because it's anecdotal. We spend more time with our kids than the neighbor's kids. That means our kids are A's, the neighbor's kids might not even be on our list. So prioritizing relationships and allocating time to those kids' relationships is crucial. We need to do it. And then you figure out why these people would want to spend time with you, and you bust your butt to make sure that you are coming up with what we call currency, reasons that people want to spend time with you. And you reach out with generosity and with authentic kindness to these folks in order to attract yourself in the relationship. Finally, when you show up, you're actually yourself. You are your authentic self. You have your guard down. You build a real relationship and not a transactional one. And then you rinse and repeat, and you continue to do that through all of your goals and through all of your life. And it's a great system, and it's made me the success that I am.
Yeah. Look, Keith, thank you so much for sharing that, and I really appreciate you taking the time today. Keith, how can listeners connect with you?
We're pretty out there. KeithFarazi.com, FaraziGreenlight.com. We're all over the place. And I've got plenty of folks that make sure that your inbound emails, solicitation, etc., are received. But I would suggest this: read my book first. I get thousands and thousands of inbound solicitations of some sort or another. We can't even respond, unfortunately, to all of them. So make sure that you stand out. Make sure that you've led with the kind of lessons that Never Eat Alone teaches.
Yeah, that's excellent advice. Well, Keith, thank you so much, and really appreciate your time today.
And I appreciate your patience in putting it together. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.
I hope you enjoyed the show with Keith today. You can access the Aspirational Contacts template and download the other 33 free web marketing templates from bluewiremedia.com.au/book. Thanks again for joining us.